And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey folks, today I'm going to be taking a look at Ginkgopolis. I think that's how you pronounce it. It's about building a city in the future in Ginkgo Biloboa. And so you're building a new city in nature, okay? Now, realize this. I love city building games, and city building games are great. This game has city building as a kind of an overlay. This is a very mechanical game. It is straight mechanics. The theme is kind of there, I suppose, but really has nothing to do with the game. Okay, so if you're looking for a game where you get to build gas stations and restaurants in the future or whatever, that's not happening here. You're building buildings, but this is a straight up mechanical game. That does not mean it's a bad game, but I didn't say it wasn't either. Let's take a look at how it plays, and we'll be back. So here's what the city looks like at the beginning of the game. You have these 9 randomized tiles that are 1, 2, 3 of 3 different colors, and then you have A through L districts placed by them. Each player is going to get a screen, and then there's well, you can take random ones, but I would recommend going through a drafting method. But there's a drafting method of the game where you get these cards, and basically these cards are going to do one of two things for you. On the side of them are the resources that you start with, which are either these are called resources. I don't know why the game calls these resources. You have them in your own color. They're more like area control tokens, but anyway, or victory points and tiles. Okay, so there's more tiles in the game. So let's say these are the cards that I start with. These 3 cards here. Those are all the resources I'll get. But I'm also going to get bonuses. Now, when you get these cards, you will take these cards and put them in front of yourself because the bonuses count. There's different kinds of bonuses that you will get over the course of the game, and they will take place on the actions. A card deck is then made, and this deck is formed. There's a card for each of these buildings that are out there, and there's a card for each of these territories, the A through L. It's shuffled, and players have a handful of 4 cards. Twice during the course of the game, you can discard one of these tokens. You get 2 of them to discard all your cards and draw 4 more, and you will find yourself wanting to do that occasionally. But these tokens are also worth 2 points, so you may not want to do that. On your turn, you have 3 options. Everybody is going to play either a card by itself from their hand, or a card and a tile together. And that card and tile depends on whether you played a letter card or whether you played a building card. Let's talk about playing a card by itself first. If I play a card by itself first and it's a building card, I get to use that building. So this is 3. It's a red building. This simply gives me a resource. These red buildings give 1 resource. Blue buildings give 1 tile, and yellow buildings give 1 victory point. And I am kind of curious why these victory points are shaped like little fans, but I digress. But you'll take victory points. Now, here's one of the cool features of this game. These bonus cards. Several of the bonus cards, these 3 down here in particular, when you play a card by itself, you will also get a bonus. So if I have this blue card in front of me and I play a card by itself, I can do whatever I did. Let's say I got a resource, but I would also get a tile. If I have all 3 of these cards in front of me and I play a card by itself and I get a victory point, I would get another victory point, a resource, and a tile. So the more of these cards I have in front of me, and you can get more as the game goes by, you can get all sorts of bonuses. If I play a card by itself that's a letter card, and I simply will get either 1 resource or 1 tile, my choice. But again, I will still get the bonuses from playing the card by itself. Now, if you play a card with a tile, okay, the first card that you want to play with a tile will be, maybe you play a letter card. Let's say I play a letter card with a tile. So I play C with this tile that I have behind my hand, which is a 4. If that happens, I look for C, and I'm going to replace this C with a 4. I then have to take one of my resources behind my screen, so hopefully I have one, and put it there to show that I now control that building. And then I'm going to place this C on one of the sides of 4 because that C might come up again and people might build more buildings. I also get to use any building that's adjacent to this one. So hooray! I get a resource from building 3. And then, just like the other ones, any cards that I have and you can see them here. So here I'm putting a building on top of one of those letter tiles. If I had all three of these cards in front of me, I would also get another resource, a tile, and points. Now I'm showing you all three different ones, but it's very possible for you to have 3 extra resources or 5 tiles or what have you. Okay? The third thing that you can do is you can play a tile that is a building with a tile that's a building already out on the board. So let's say, for example, I play this blue one and I play this 9. I simply will put this tile on top of the 1, and then I have to put 2 resources on it because it's a level 2. If it was a higher than that, let's say it was level 3, I'd have to put 3 resources, I'd have to put 4 resources on it, etc. If someone else already had the building, let's say someone puts another tile on top of this one, and I would lose my 2 resources, but at least I would get 2 points for being displaced. When you put these on top, you need to put a higher number that's the same color. If it's a different color, you can do it, but you also have to discard an extra resource back to the bank. If it's the same color and it's a lower number, let's say, for example, there's a 13 here, and I want to cover that with a 5. I can do that, but I would have to pay the difference in victory points. I'd have to pay 8 victory points. Well, that can be kind of expensive and messy. When you do that, again, there's a whole set of cards here that show the different buildings. However, this is also useful because the building that you just displaced, the card that you played, so let's say I played 1 and I was putting it on top of the 1, I now have this card and I will add it to the cards in front of me where it will be a bonus. So this is the best way to get more bonus cards, and some of the buildings as you displace them have better bonuses. See this one here? Whenever you expand buildings on top of one of those letter tiles, you will now get a victory point and a tile for doing that. And some of them, like for example here, this one doesn't give me anything, but at the end of the game, for every one of these bonus cards I have, it's going to be worth 2 victory points for me. And so you're going to see all sorts of cool things. This one here is simply 9 victory points at the end of the game. So if there's an equal sign on it, that's an end of the game bonus. Otherwise, it's every time I play a single card by itself, I get a resource and a victory point. So that's how you play the game. You're going to keep doing this back and forth. Whenever you build a new building, you're going to put one of these gray tokens on it, and that's because when the deck runs out, you will then search through the deck and pull out all the new buildings that have been matched and put them into the deck, so that players will now be able to use those building cards, be able to utilize those buildings, or be able to build on top of them, etc. When all the tiles run out, players are going to have tiles behind their screens. By the way, the screens are nice artwork. They all look different, and they also kind of in a pictorial way tell you the different combinations of things you can play. When they all run out, players can give tiles back to the pile for points, and then you play again until they run out a second time, then the game's over. Or if one person has given up all their resources, they're all on the board, the game is over. At that point, you will look at regions that are connected together of the same color. See, these 3 blue make a region, and whoever has the most resources, and this is why I like calling them area control tokens, in that region is going to get points equal to the total sum. So let's say pink has 2 there and green has 1. Pink is going to get 3 points, and then green would get 1 point. So as you can see, the buildings get higher. You can get a lot of points at the end of the game, plus any bonuses from cards that you might have acquired as the game proceeded, plus all the points that you picked up during the game itself, plus 2 points for each of these hand tokens that you didn't use during the course of the game. Whoever has the most points is the winner. Some of you who've watched a lot of my reviews might think at this point that I'm going to rail against the game because really the theme is non-existent. But I'm not, because the game itself is actually a very good game. Now, I don't love it, and it's a hard game to teach. I don't know, I mean, while I just explained it, I don't know if you got it from me explaining it there or not, but I'll tell you, with some of the people that I played it with, I had to keep saying, okay, these are card bonuses, and so these are the combinations that you can play, and when you play this, and for some people it took the whole game to kind of get it down, and then you're like, oh, but this is an engine building game. As the game progresses, you get better and better bonuses. I'm not sure that building on top of another building is the best choice. It feels like it is from the games that I played, although I haven't done very well with it, so maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. The components are okay. They're nice. I think these victory points, I didn't know what they were. I think from reading the back of the box and the theme that they're like leaves, this is a green city. But again, the theme isn't here. What is here, though, is a neat kind of machine. You're like, oh, look, I played one card and boom, 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 I got all this. And so you have to build your machine faster than everybody else. Now, there is going to be luck in drawing the cards, and you will be frustrated because sometimes you draw cards and you're like, I just don't want to use these cards at this point in time. But they did include those 2 tokens to discard your hand, and I thought that was a good idea because, yes, those are worth 2 points at the end of the game, but whatever. Sometimes you just need to get rid of that bad hand. And one of the things I didn't mention in the game, which is pretty critical, is that when you take your hand of cards, you will be playing a card from a hand, and then you'll be passing that hand to the next person before drawing more cards. So you are giving them cards to play with. Now, very rarely in this game have I looked at a card and said, I cannot give that to the next person. There's nothing you can do about that. But I have looked at hands that said, this isn't that useful, but I'll just throw away one of these cards, basically play it for a card, resource, whatever, and pass it off and then hopefully get a better hand from somebody else. And sometimes I would build a building that wouldn't be the best building for me, but because I would be afraid that if I get to my opponent, he will cover my biggest building in the middle of the board. But like I said, to me, this is a very mechanically strong game. I think it's well designed. Once you know what you're doing, we're talking 60 minutes maximum. It's easy, boom, 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 as you get out there. But it does have a very steep learning jump. People, I don't know what to call them anymore because I get criticized when I call them learning curves. But initially you look at it and you're kind of like, what is going on? But once it clicks, the game itself will click, 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 click. And I think there's a very diehard group of people. I don't know that I'll play this game that often because I am looking for a bit of theme in my games. But if someone asked me to play this, I would not be upset and I would enjoy playing it because I like putting together the engine. And it's not that long of a game, but it has a fairly heavy feel. This is one of those games that I think packs a good amount of punch in 45 minutes or an hour. The box says 45 minutes. I think an hour, especially if you're playing with 5 players, is more likely. But still, some neat concepts here. I'd like to see these concepts taken and add to a game that has some theme where it all puts together. That would be neat. But for where it's at, Ginkgopolis is a very solid game.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find the latest board game news at Dicetowernews.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Fun Again Games, the world's best game source. Fun Again Games has over 5,000 games available. Check them out at funagain.com.
Shut the door.
There.